When it comes to deadlifts, most people think there's just two variations, the conventional way to pull the deadlift and the sumo variation. But the reality is there's a lot more interesting variations that you could tap into to get the best possible gains, whether it's coming down to your strength, your power, building muscle, all of it. Different people, different goals, different likes and dislikes, different variations of deadlifts that you can go for. Make sure you watch this video till the very end, because at the end of this video I'm going to give you a chart that summarizes what exercise variation of deadlift that you have to choose based on the grip that you use, based on your stance, based on the depth from which you pull the deadlift, and also based on the equipments that you use. There's a lot more that goes into this, so make sure you watch this video till the very end so that you get a complete idea on which is the best possible deadlift variation for you. So let's get started with this video. Without any further ado, let's go right now. Okay, so first let's talk about the different grips that you can use for the deadlift. The first is the double over grip, wherein both your knuckles are facing away from you. This is the standard grip that you can use. It's great for beginners, it's quite simple. So this is the one I'd recommend most beginners to start with. And then the second one is the mixed grip, wherein one of your knuckles is facing away from you and one is facing towards you. The advantage of this grip is that the grip doesn't wear out that easily. So when you're lifting really heavy, especially when you're doing higher reps of deadlift, let's say more than 6 or 8 reps, your grip starts giving out. So when that happens, using a mixed grip can help you have a stronger grip for a little bit longer. This works for me, so I use it from time to time. And then the third grip is the hook grip. This is a little bit painful at start because your thumb is caught right in between the solid steel and the rest of your 4 fingers. That's quite painful when you're first getting started, so it takes some time, takes some practice to get used to it. But once you get used to it, you're not going to go back from this because it's very effective. There's no way you're going to lose out your grip when you're using the hook grip. This is typically used in Olympic lifts or any sort of power movements where there's a risk of the barbell slipping out of your hands, but it can also be used while doing heavy deadlifts. It's quite effective. And then the fourth and final grip that you can use is the snatch grip. This again is used for the Olympic snatch movement, which requires you to move the barbell overhead really fast. So this is a grip that you can use while doing the deadlift as well. The difference between your regular width grip and the snatch grip is that as your hands go more wide, the distance you have to cover to reach the ground is much higher. So it takes more flexibility, more mobility, and you have to move through a bigger range of motion to complete the single repetition in a deadlift. So that's what makes it more challenging. So when you're using a snatch grip, it becomes much more difficult to do a deadlift through a full range of motion as compared to your regular grip. So if you have any shortage of weights, such as me when I'm training at home, I have only till 90 kgs of weights, which is not nearly enough for me to keep progressing in the long term. So I can move to more difficult variations, such as using a snatch grip, which definitely makes even lightweight seem a lot more heavier, a lot more effective. If you're enjoying this video so far, there's a lot more to come. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you get all my videos notified on time, and share this video to your friends. It's going to help me out a lot. Anyways, let's now talk about the different stances that you can use for deadlift. There's two main stances for deadlifts, the conventional stance and the sumo stance. With the conventional stance, you're standing feet shoulder width apart, which is typically what most people use, and I personally find this more comfortable. Whereas the sumo stance allows you to keep your feet much more wider, and it is debatable which variation is better because it depends from person to person, and which variation allows you to lift more weight, that also depends on your biomechanics. For instance, people that have longer legs, when they keep their feet more wide, it allows them to lift a little bit heavier, so it gives them some amount of advantage compared to the conventional deadlift. Whereas people who have shorter legs compared to their upper body, conventional is probably going to be a little bit better to them. So the biomechanics that you have, your limb length, that definitely affects how much weight you can lift and which variation of deadlift helps you better and it allows you to progress better. Let's not go into too much details of that because it's too advanced, but the more better you understand your own body, the better results it allows you to get. So that's something you should keep in mind. So apart from the conventional stance and the sumo stance, you can also do a little bit of a mix, which is a semi-sumo stance, which is not quite as wide as a sumo stance but a little bit narrower. You can play around with different stances and see what suits best for you, and it all comes down to experience and personal preference. There's nothing beyond that. And now coming to the depth of the pull. You can pull conventionally like you pull from the floor, that is your regular deadlift, And you can also do deficit deadlifts, which demands a lot more flexibility and mobility. You can do this by standing on some weight plates, or you can stand on a sturdy box, but make sure the surface is sturdy and you are placed in a proper safe manner. Don't just experiment with something that's going to shift. It could go really wrong and you don't want to risk that. So apart from the deficit deadlifts and the regular deadlift from the floor, you can also pull from the rack, wherein you can adjust the height of the rack by changing the pins. And obviously, needless to say, the higher of a surface you're pulling the deadlift from, the easier it is, the more leverage that you get. The more deeper you have to pull it from, the more difficult it becomes. And again, start from the rack pulls, which is the easiest variation, which is just pulling from the rack, and then slowly progress to more deeper variations. That is the safest recommendation. For most beginners, I recommend the Romanian deadlift. I think that is the safest and best option to learn how to do the deadlift, to learn how to hinge your hips. And once you learn that, you can progress to more difficult variations such as the stiff leg deadlifts or regular deadlifts, sumo deadlifts, and then deficit deadlifts, of course. Now let's talk about the different equipments that you can use to do the deadlift. It is such a versatile exercise because so many different equipments allow you to do this exercise. And the benefits of doing deadlifts and getting better at them are immense. I don't even need to tell you about it. A strong posture, good posterior chain, which is often the most neglected part of your body, your glutes, hamstrings, your lower back, your entire upper back area, your trapezius muscles, all of that, you definitely need to target that. So if there's one exercise you're doing for your lower body, it has to be the deadlifts. Do not ignore it. It's really important. Anyways, now coming to the different equipments you can use to do deadlifts. You can do it conventionally with the barbell. If you're a complete beginner, I recommend that you start by learning how to do the movement using just a PVC pipe or a bamboo stick, which weighs practically nothing. And that's what you need to start with. Focus on the quality of the movement over the quantity of weight that you're lifting. That's very important. And after that, obviously you can stack on more plates and progress to more difficult variations using the barbell, the original and possibly the best variation for most people. Another equipment you can use is the trap bar, which is personally my favorite variation of doing the deadlift. The difference between a regular barbell deadlift and a trap bar deadlift is that the trap bar maintains your center of gravity right over the middle of your body. The barbell is right in the front of your body, whereas the trap bar, the weights are on your sides. You're standing in the middle of it. So this is really a great movement pattern to learn. If you haven't done trap bar deadlifts before, trust me, you have to give it a shot. It's very effective. And again, you can also use dumbbells, kettlebells. All of those equipments are also quite effective in doing deadlifts. Apart from that, you can vary the resistance pattern, the way the weights affect your body while doing this very movement of deadlifts. That is by using resistance bands or using chains in combination with other equipments such as with a barbell. When you do this, this is the difference. With the barbell or any sort of dead weight, the part of the movement where it's most difficult is right on the floor. At the bottom is the most difficult part of the deadlift. Whereas if you use resistance bands or chain, the higher you go, the more elasticity the resistance band builds. That's where it becomes more difficult. Same with the chains. The more chain links that are on the floor, the less resistance the chain gives. When you lift the chain links off the floor completely at the top of the movement, it adds in more difficulty at it. So this can be done to strengthen the top part of the movement, which is something that you need to work on as you become a more advanced lifter. You need to strengthen specific parts of movement and specific weaknesses that you have. You can use something like this, resistance bands and chains, to target exactly that, which is very effective. And now I'll show you some of my favorite variations of deadlifts. You can also try these out. These are quite unusual, uncommon. Most people haven't used this, but it can be quite effective. So definitely give this a shot. And now lastly, before I end this video, I'd like to talk about the main reasons that most people are not progressing well in deadlifts or they fail at deadlifts. That is quite simple. Most people are ego lifting. They're lifting way too much weights, a lot more than they should be lifting. In this case, fix your technique. That's more important than anything else. Second thing, you don't have enough mobility. So switch to a more easier variation which allows you to move freely through whatever range of motion you have, and as you work on your mobility, you become more flexible. You can progress towards more difficult variations. In fact, even lifting weights and using the range of motion that you have properly, that itself improves your range of motion and flexibility to some extent. We have now reached the most important part of the video. I told you all this information. There's different pieces of information scattered throughout, but how exactly do you know what variation should you choose? That's where this part comes in. On your screen I'm going to show you a summary of what variation you should go for based on your goal, based on your current ability, and based on what equipments you have. All of that simplified on your screen right now. Take a screenshot so that you can use it in your own training. And that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, comment down below what are the content you want me to cover in the future, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you get all the notifications on time, and watch this video right here. I'm sure it's going to help you out quite a lot. And until next time, take care, stay hungry.